The sharp crack of a slap reverberated through the reception hall, silencing conversations and causing the music to falter. Every eye, about 200 pairs, turned sharply towards my father, whose hand was still raised after the strike. My mother gasped, more concerned with the spectacle they were creating than the blood staining my lip. "You selfish little brat," my father hissed, his face flushed with rage. "After everything we've done for you." I reached up, touching my cheek and tasting the coppery blood, the pain dull but undeniable. My carefully applied makeup was likely ruined, but I couldn't summon the energy to care. I was stunned, trying to process the absurdity of what had just happened. "My name is Victoria Chin. I'm 29 years old and I had just been assaulted by my father at my brother James' wedding, because I refused to give up my penthouse apartment for the newlyweds. James and Anna needed a proper home to start their new life. Minutes earlier, my mother had cornered me by the dessert table, insisting, 'Your penthouse is perfect and you're just one person. Be reasonable, Victoria.' That penthouse was my pride and joy, purchased with my own money earned from years of working 60-hour weeks as a software developer. Meanwhile, James had been bouncing between failed ventures, living off our parents' generosity. I built something for myself, but they expected me to hand it over. 'No,' I repeated, voice firm despite my trembling hands. 'The penthouse is mine. I bought it. I pay for it. James and Anna can find their own place.' That's when my father stepped in, visibly intoxicated from too much champagne and self-righteousness. 'This isn't a request, Victoria. Your brother is the man of the family now. He needs this.' James had always been the golden boy, even in failure. His latest project, a cryptocurrency startup, had collapsed spectacularly last month, taking investors' money with it. Yet somehow I was the unreasonable one for refusing to give up my home. 'The answer is still no,' I said quietly. 'And if you bring this up again, I'm leaving.' Suddenly he struck me. The hall fell into stunned silence. In that moment clarity hit me. The performative concern from my mother, the entitled rage from my father, and James, smirking from his seat at the head table. Even Anna, his new wife, looked smug, as if my humiliation was exactly what she'd hoped for. I straightened my shoulders, met my father's gaze directly, and offered a small, defiant smile. "You'll regret this," I said, voice steady and loud enough to echo. "All of you will." Without another word, I turned and walked away, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor, leaving chaos behind me. I could hear my mother calling after me, probably worried about what the country club members would think. But I didn't stop. In my car, I finally let the tears flow, but they weren't tears of sadness. I was furious. Years of being the responsible, reliable daughter, never asking for help, always doing what was right, had led to this. And this was my reward. A slap, humiliation, and being treated like I was nothing because I refused to give up my home to my freeloading brother. My phone buzzed nonstop. Messages flooded in. "Mom, come back inside. You're embarrassing us. James, don't be dramatic. We can talk about this. Anna, your brother deserves that penthouse more than anyone. Dad, you'll give James the keys tomorrow. This isn't up for discussion." I turned off the notifications and started driving, but not home. I couldn't face the penthouse just yet. Instead, I headed to the quiet refuge where I'd spent countless hours coding and planning my future. A small coffee shop. The barista, Mike, immediately noticed my distressed state and brought over my usual without a word. "Bad day?" he asked. I nodded. "My father slapped me at my brother's wedding because I wouldn't give them my penthouse. I'm surprised I stayed this calm." His eyes widened. "Your penthouse. The one you worked 3 years of overtime to buy." I took a sip of my coffee. "Yeah. Apparently James needs it more than I do. He's the man of the family, after all." Mike slid a chocolate muffin across the table. "On the house. You look like you need it." As I watched the sunset through the cafe window, a plan began to take shape. My family thought they could intimidate me into surrendering what's mine. They had no idea what I was capable of. I pulled out my laptop, quickly typing out emails to my lawyer and financial advisor. I committed code to my private GitHub repository, things they wouldn't find unless they knew where to look. I also called my real estate agent. "Remember that oceanfront property we discussed?" I asked when she answered. "I'm ready to make an offer." By the time I finished my coffee, the foundation of my plan was set. They wanted to take my home? Let them try. What they didn't realize was that the quiet, dependable daughter they'd taken for granted had vanished the moment my father's hand met my face. This was war, and I was determined to win. The next morning, unannounced, my parents appeared at my penthouse. My father pushed past the doorman who had already warned me they were coming. I met them at the door, dressed sharply in my power suit, my laptop in hand. "Where are you going?" my mother demanded as I locked the door. "Work," I said simply, heading toward the elevator. "You shouldn't dismiss us," my father growled, grabbing my arm. I yanked it away, voice icy. "Don't touch me again or I'll have security remove you. And I have video of yesterday's incident. The cameras at the country club caught everything." They both froze. "Change the locks all you want," I added. "I've already moved everything valuable to secure storage." The elevator doors closed, leaving them stunned. I waited until I was in my car before exhaling sharply. Phase 1 of my plan was in motion. Over the next week, I ignored their increasingly hostile messages and calls. James sent mutual friends and relatives trying to intervene. Anna posted passive-aggressive updates on social media about selfish family members. I stayed silent and focused on my work. What they didn't know was I'd been preparing for this moment for years. Not just this scenario, but everything that led up to it. I had receipts for every dollar I earned, every bill I paid, every upgrade I'd made to the penthouse. Security cameras recorded everything, backup codes protected my digital assets, and most importantly, I had leverage, access to their secrets. During those years, I'd been the family's tech support, setting up their devices, managing their accounts, and unknowingly, gaining access to James' business records. On day 10 of silence, my mother showed up at my office, tears in her eyes. "Your father is sorry," she said, settling into the chair uninvited. "He was just upset. You know how he gets when he's worried about James." "Worried about James?" I kept typing, not bothering to look up. "Or worried about what James' investors might discover about where their money really went." Her sharp intake of breath told me I'd struck a nerve. "No." I finally met her gaze, steady and unwavering. "So she didn't know about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, or the consulting fees James had funneled through Dad's business." The color drained from her face. How did you?" she stammered. I let out a quiet breath. "I'm very good at what I do, Mom. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when James used my old coding projects in his crypto scam?" She shook her head defensively. "It wasn't a scam. He just made some mistakes." "Fraud isn't a mistake. It's a crime." I turned my laptop toward her, revealing the meticulously compiled documents, many of which Dad had helped him forge. Her hands trembled as she stared at the screen. "What do you want?" she asked, voice trembling. "Leave me alone. No more demands, no more flying monkeys, no more social media drama. The penthouse is mine. End of discussion." I paused, locking eyes with her. "And if you try to take it from me, I'll send these documents, the ones I just showed you, to the SEC along with the video of Dad assaulting me. I'm sure the investors would be very interested in where their money went." Her voice cracked. "You're destroying your own family." I scoffed. "You did that all on your own. By demanding I give up my home, by ignoring what Dad did, by smirking at James's antics while I was humiliated. I'm done being a family doormat." Without another word, she turned and left, her footsteps echoing down the hall. I knew this wasn't over. They'd be angry, maybe even desperate. But I had one more card to play. That evening, my phone lit up with a call from my real estate agent. The oceanfront property I'd been eyeing for months, an upscale apartment complex, was now mine. The same place James and Anna had dreamed of renting. I logged into my private GitHub repository, pushing the final updates for a project I'd been developing in secret. A property management system. It was the same system James had tried to steal for his failed startup. My phone buzzed with a message from James. "Mom told me what you're doing. You can't prove anything." I smiled, sending back a screenshot of his private server logs. His reply came quickly. "What do you want?" "Distance," I responded. "Complete and absolute. No contact, no demands, no family obligations. The penthouse and my life are off limits. And if I don't comply, I own your dream apartment complex, I have proof of your fraud, and enough documentation to bury both you and Dad." The typing indicator blinked on and off before he finally responded. "You've changed." I typed back calmly. "No. I just stopped pretending to be who you wanted me to be. I silenced my phone and stepped out onto my balcony, gazing at the city lights flickering to life as the sun set. The family I had once known was fading away, but I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destruction. It's about finally becoming your true self. 3 months after the wedding incident, I sat in my penthouse living room, sipping coffee and reviewing tenant applications for the oceanfront complex. The property was thriving, especially after I implemented my management system. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a notification. James and Anna had been evicted from their luxury rental after failing to pay rent for 2 months. I wasn't surprised. They no longer had Dad's financial support, which had dried up after my revelations about their fraud. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Through the security camera, I saw Dad standing there looking older than I remembered. For a moment, I debated ignoring him, but curiosity won. "What do you want?" I asked through the intercom. 5 minutes, Victoria. "Please," he replied. I opened the door but didn't invite him inside. He shifted uncomfortably, his usual confidence diminished. "James and Anna are moving back home," he said softly. "Finally, the apartment. They can't afford it." "I know," I said coolly. "I own the building." His eyes widened. "You?" "Because I'm good at what I do, Dad. Always was. You just never noticed." He slumped against the doorframe. "Your mother misses you. We all do." "No," I corrected him. "You miss having someone to push around. Someone to sacrifice everything for James. That person doesn't exist anymore." He looked down, defeated. I was wrong. About everything. The slap, the demands, protecting James. I've lost everything because of it. It was true. After I threatened to expose their fraud, Dad had to step down from his company's board. His reputation in the business world was in ruins. Though I'd never actually released the proof. The threat alone had been enough. "You haven't lost everything," I said. "You still have your golden boy. Isn't that what matters?" "Victoria, please," he begged. "Family." I laughed bitterly. Family doesn't demand someone give up their home. Family doesn't hit you in public. Family doesn't smirk as they watch it happen. He flinched with each word, but I wasn't finished. "You know what I realized after the wedding? I've never actually needed any of you. Every success I've had, every achievement was in spite of you, not because of you." He whispered, "I know. I know that now." I studied him, the man who once seemed so powerful, so intimidating. Now he looked small, diminished. 5 minutes are up," I said, preparing to close the door. He reached into his jacket and handed me an envelope. "Your mother wanted you to have this. An invitation to her birthday dinner next week. She'd really like you to come." I took it but didn't open it. "I'll think about it." Later that night, I sat on my balcony, turning the invitation over in my hands. Part of me wanted to toss it away, to maintain the distance I'd fought so hard to establish. But another, stronger part knew that real victory wasn't in perpetual separation. It was in having the power to choose my own path. The following week, I attended my mother's birthday dinner. I arrived late, left early, speaking little but observing much. James and Anna sat silently, their designer clothes replaced by cheaper brands. My father stayed sober but cautious. My mother wore a fragile smile, trying too hard. They were all walking on eggshells, aware of the power I now held. But I had no desire to wield it as a weapon. Instead, I used it as a shield, protecting the life I'd fought to build. In the months that followed, a new dynamic took shape. They learned to respect my boundaries and accept that I wouldn't be their safety net anymore. James and Anna found modest jobs and a small apartment they could afford. My father remained involved but distant, occasionally reaching out about business ideas. My mother, still trying to play peacemaker, gradually accepted the woman I had become. A year after the wedding, I hosted a small dinner in my penthouse. Not for family but for those who truly supported me. Mike, my favorite barista, raised his glass. "To Victoria, who turned a slap into an empire," he said. I smiled, reflecting on how that humiliating moment had become the catalyst for my independence. Financial, emotional, and personal. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about revenge at all. It's about growth, resilience, and reclaiming your life. I raised my glass in return. The slap, the demands, the aftermath, they all tried to take my home, but they gave me my freedom instead. And that was worth more than any penthouse.